Hey you, what up? I'm Maryam, welcome to my channel or welcome back. In today's video, I'm going to be reviewing, testing out, trying out, giving a verdict on JACLYN Cosmetics' new collection, the Prep and Set collection, featuring lots of different powders. We have the loose under eye brightening powder in 5 different shades. We have the translucent setting powder pressed. We also have some palettes of different pressed powders for the under eye and for your entire face. We even have a hydrating under eye primer. That's the first time I've ever heard of that kind of product. So basically, I'm going to be dissecting all of this. I'm going to be applying it to my face and talk about all the different ways that you can wear these powders. Basically, this is going to be my first impression of all of these products, and I'm just going to be diving into all this JACLYN Cosmetics goodness and seeing what this is all about. Don't buy till I try. Remember to like and subscribe, hit the notification bell so you can see all of my Wednesdays and Sundays videos. And now let's get into this collection, JACLYN Cosmetics by Jaclyn Hill, Prep and Set. Did I say this launches May 6th? It does. All right, let's hit it. I gotta give it up for JACLYN Cosmetics. They are killing it with the PR packages. This is a brand new makeup line, but their PR packages seem like they have been around for a while. Very upscale, very on brand with Jaclyn Hill and also with her brand JACLYN Cosmetics. So in this PR package here, we have 2 trays. The top tray here includes the Prep Starter Hydrating Under Eye Primer, as well as the Translucent Setting Powder, and also the 5 Under Eye Brightening Loose powders. Next, we have a cute little message from Jaclyn. It has literally taken me years to develop the perfect technique for smooth, bright under eyes and a flawless complexion. And it all starts with taking the time to prep and set. Do I sound like Jaclyn? I was trying to go for like a little moment there. Anyway, these are the products that she has perfected, that she has curated, and she officially cannot live without them. So I am very curious and I'm very intrigued to see what this is all about. Full disclosure, when I first initially saw this launch, and when I noticed that it was all centered around powders, I was just a little bit perplexed. Why are the powders coming before the concealers and the foundations? It's kind of not in accordance of the steps that you apply your makeup. So that was naturally something that was kind of perplexing to me, but I get it. I get it. Complexion products such as foundations and such as concealers take a lot more time to formulate. Plus you need a lot more shades. Anyway, in the second tray, we have the palettes. So these are the powder palettes, Face It All Brightening and Setting palettes. We have these in 4 different color categories. We have the fair to light. Next, we have the light to medium, medium to tan, and a tan to deep. So now the Face It All Brightening and Setting palettes can be used over liquid or cream products to brighten and set, or can be worn alone to blur and perfect. Each of the 4 shades in the palette is infused with smoothing banana flower powder. And each palette is $39. Available May 6th on JACLYNCosmetics.com. All right, so the reason why I even started talking about this particular product is because I'm thinking this might be the one that people will be excited about the most. It's not every day that you get kind of a compact face palette of powders to brighten and also enhance your complexion. But having said that, and looking just at the colors of one of the palettes, I'm thinking that the average consumer might not actually know what to do with all these 4 colors. Yes, there's a little bit of innovation there, but also I'd like a tutorial, right? All right, moving right along to the rest of the collection, we also have a hydrating under eye primer. Now this is said to be infused with shea butter. Now it also has a cooling metal tip applicator. And this is also kind of unique, a hydrating under eye primer. What makes it a primer as opposed to, say, an eye cream or a moisturizer? I wonder. So now this is $24, made in Canada, 0.3 fluid ounces. Next up, we have 5 shades of the under eye brightening powder. We've got the brightening lilac, which helps neutralize dark circles for yellow undertones and fair skin tones. We also have the brightening pink, helps neutralize dark circles for cool undertones and light skin tones. We have a brightening light banana, helps neutralize dark circles and redness for light to medium skin tones. That would be me. Next, we have the brightening banana, as opposed to light banana. This helps neutralize and brighten dark circles for medium to tan skin tones. Perhaps also me. And last but not least, we have the brightening apricot, which helps neutralize and brighten dark circles for tan to deep skin tones. Each of the powders is $29. Again, will be available on May 6th on JACLYNcosmetics.com. And the final product, last but not least, is the Last Act Translucent Setting Powder. $29 for this one. Super fine pressed powder. Sets makeup without lifting foundation. Universal translucent shade. I'm gonna swatch this one because it looks like white to me. It comes off kind of white on my finger. Does feel quite fine. Has a little bit of luminosity. Blends very well into nothingness. I like that. All right, we are going to test everything out. Without further ado, we're gonna get into this collection, and basically, I'm gonna walk you through it in case you are just a little bit confused, just a little bit perplexed, like I am. Let's figure this out together. First and foremost, I have nothing on my face. I did moisturize. I applied the Peach and Lily Glass Skin Serum Primer. It looks pretty good. My skin is kind of on the good side right now. A little bit underslept, but that's a whole other story. First thing I'm gonna do is use this Hydrating Under Eye Primer. I'm gonna squeeze out a pinchy poo. Looks like white cream. Oh. And I'm gonna prep and prime this under eye. I gotta say, this is a step that I personally never really do. Not before my makeup application, but generally in the morning, right after I apply my serum and my moisturizer, I also apply my eye cream so that it has a chance to really set. But you know what? We are exploring here. We're trying new things. Kind of want to apply that to the top of my lid too. It does feel very nice and cooling, but not very greasy at all. Also not very rich. I will say this is a light formulation. Doesn't seem to be making me sensitive or anything like that. So I'm gonna move on. All right, so next I'm gonna apply my face primer and then my foundation. These are not JACLYN Cosmetics foundation or primer, just my Essence My Skin Perfector and my Bobbi Brown Skin Longwear Weightless Foundation with SPF 15. Just gonna quickly give my face a nice base. Going in with kind of a fuller coverage foundation today, just because I know that JACLYN is a glam girl. And I feel like these powders may not be necessarily for your no makeup type of looks. So although we're not really reaching for glam lately, I still want to have a little bit more coverage and also just like a little bit more product to work with so you could really see the brightening effect of these powders, specifically the eye powders. I'm not going to go crazy. I'm still going to keep it wearable, like a good layer of foundation. For my concealer, I'm going to be using the Pure Push-Up 4-in-1 Sculpting Concealer. This is just a concealer that I've been liking lately. Again, not doing anything new. Nothing really different, applying everything the same way as I typically would. Foundation, concealer are on. I'm ready for these powders. Okay, so the first thing that I am going to do, I guess, is reach for the Brightening Light Banana Powder in the loose format. And I'm actually gonna just use this powder on one side, and then I'm gonna use the palette on the other side, just to see if there's a difference, if I like one more than the other. Just gonna use a little brush, which is my preferred method of applying my under eye powder. Pick some up, tap some off. Okay, I definitely see a lot of brightness under my eye, especially in my monitor. In comparison to my other eye, this eye definitely looks a little bit smoother, just a little bit more lifted. And the powder itself seems very smoothing to me. I'm not gonna say this is a super glamorous type of brightening effect, but you definitely can see this whole area being a little bit more lit. So it feels good. As I'm applying more powder, I'm not noticing any cakiness. I'm not noticing it crinkling my under eye or anything like that. So that I really like. I'm gonna show you a close-up. All right, here we go. Here's the powdered under eye. Here's the unpowdered under eye. I see a difference. Do you? Okay, so I'm not gonna say that this is anything revolutionary off the bat. It's a nice powder, something I've seen before. I like the fact that there's 5 different shades. I'm wondering if the darkest shade here, the apricot, is dark enough for the deeper skin tones. I don't think so. I feel like this might be okay for some brown complexions, but not for the deeper complexions. That's kind of like my concern, you know, with that specific shade. Yeah, I get it that these are supposed to be brightening, but this is pretty light for the deepest shade in the collection. All I can say is that I'm hoping there will be more. Alrighty, moving on to the palettes. So I'm gonna grab the light to medium one, which is the second lightest, though I could probably also use the medium to tan one. I'm noticing that some of the shades are overlapping in the palettes. So for example, in the light medium and the medium to tan, both palettes have caramel shade, which is this bottom one right here, or this top one right here. Same with the medium tan, tan deep. We have the hazelnut shade repeated right here. And basically they all have one repeating shade in each palette. So again, with the deepest palette, I get that there's a brightener and a color corrector and a lighter shade and a darker shade, but if that's the darker shade that we have, I mean, that's just like maybe a shade or two darker than my tan complexion, if that. So that's something to be noted. But anyway, I'm just gonna go for the light to medium palette. It looks so light in my monitor. I feel like, could it really be this light? I'm gonna take a damp sponge, which is how I saw JACLYN herself apply this specific product. I'm gonna dip into this light banana over here, which is like a pale yellowy shade. And with this damp sponge, I am going to press that into my under eye. Whoa. Okay, it is definitely very, very bright on me. Perhaps I should have used the next palette. Also, I'm noticing that the wet sponge method is emphasizing some texture that I don't actually have on my under eye. Let me just show you. Are you seeing what I'm seeing? What is that? What is that? I never have that. Let's just say I'm getting used to the color. It is definitely very, very bright looking in my monitor, also in my mirror. I can't really see that crinkling from far away, but the fact that I definitely know it's there is kind of bothering me a little bit. So perhaps I should just use a brush. All right, so if I want to use this palette for the rest of my face, I will say the pans are just not large enough for me to dip my powder brush into. I mean, it fits, but it's not ideal. I'd like for it to be bigger. I don't know. I can't say that I'm getting it. I guess I have to play around with this a little bit more. All right, so I grabbed the lighter shade right here, which is the almond. And what I'm gonna do with almond, ooh, holy crap, almond, you are muy pigmented. Oh guys, I wasn't expecting that. The powder is quite fine. Not exactly my shade. I am going to close this palette down, you guys. I feel like I really do need to stick to the medium tan. I feel like it'll just work better for me. So for this side of the face, I'm just gonna stick to the palette. I'm gonna reach for the next shade down the line, which is caramel, which also exists in the previous palette that I tried, but it wasn't the shade that I picked up. So now I'm just taking that slightly darker shade and I'm gonna apply that all over. The quality of the powder, I have to say, is very, very nice. It feels high-end. It reminds me a little bit of the Charlotte Tilbury powder, but this is more pigmented. This almost has a powder foundation vibe. Also, although I like the mirror, the palette itself is just a little too giant for my tiny little hand. So me holding it like this kind of hurts, I gotta say. So although this isn't a big palette for a face palette, it still somehow feels like it's not maximizing the space, okay? Like, we have so much space here to make these pans more big, girl. But again, like I said, the powder is really nice. All right, I'm gonna reach for the darker shade here, which would be the lighter flesh tone color in the tan deep palette. I feel like this is very, very nice on me. Sometimes I like to sculpt with actual setting powders rather than a bronzer, just for like a light, natural, everyday sculpted look as opposed to something more glam. And I feel like what I did here just now looks really, really good, even with the crinkling under the eye. For me personally, I don't really typically reach for orange powders. Maybe, perhaps, if I'm like extra tired and I need some color correcting under my eye, maybe then, but even so, I much prefer just overall brightening rather than color correcting with powders. So I guess the choice of colors here is not necessarily universal. So like for someone who would use a yellow, they wouldn't necessarily have the need for this. And for someone who has a need for color correcting, wouldn't necessarily have a need for the yellow. You see what I'm saying? I mean, I get it. It's supposed to suit a range of skin tones, but I don't know, something there just doesn't seem fully thought through in my opinion. But the powder is really, really nice. Let's move on, shall we? Let's move on to the translucent setting powder. I'm gonna use that on this side of the face. I'm gonna actually pick up a clean brush just so we can really see the difference here. Now this powder, as I said before, has some luminosity, which is like not my ideal thing for setting the porous zones. Somehow I just feel like it's not flattering on the pores. But anyway, let me just use that on the forehead. Is it me, or can you actually see like a white cast? And also like a luminous white cast. Oh yeah, it's there. This is definitely reminding me of something. I think it's either Rare Beauty setting powder or maybe something from Fenty that I don't quite love, but I'm just gonna call it for what it is. Off the bat, this powder is not my jam. I don't like luminous, white casting, translucent setting powders. I feel like they really only work for one type of person with flawless, fair skin. That ain't me. Okay, so I'm just gonna quickly buff that out. I didn't even conceal that zit over here. That's okay, forgive me. All right, what I'm gonna do now is just reach back for more of that hazelnut and just cover up some of that luminosity. I'm gonna make my forehead match on both sides. Okay, that looks like it did it. Gonna add a little bit across my cheeks. I'm gonna use the lighter one to help cover up my pores because I'm just not liking how they're looking here. Again, it's just giving me this very weird crinkly effect. Close-up time. All right, do you see what I'm saying? Everything here is very much emphasized. Whereas on this side, it looks a lot more smooth, huh? Interesting. The under eye, on the other hand, is a pinch emphasized here, but not so much here. But there's also not as much coverage or brightening. Well, what I'm gonna do now is actually add a few other products on top, perhaps some blush, some highlighter, and maybe an actual bronzer just to see how these products play with other powders, and then I will give my verdict, or at least my first impression. Bronzing powder is Colored Rain Caramel Delight. For blush, I'm gonna reach for JACLYN Cosmetics Blush Bronzer Duo blush in the shade Hot Lava. Kind of a lot, but that's fine. I'm actually gonna reach back into the medium tan palette, dip my wet sponge into the lighter flesh tone shade, Caramel, and I'm gonna clean up my bronzer. So first I'm gonna cut the cheek, literally cut it, and then quickly buff it out. Oh yeah, also just gonna highlight my nose bridge, buff that off. Maybe perhaps add a little bit of the darker shade on the sides. But again, that shade is not darker. It matches my forehead. I'm not trying to contour. I'm just trying to do the most with all of these products and kind of show you all the different ways that you can use these powders. And I'm thinking, should I actually complete this look or am I good to go as is? I am stalling. See, the thing is, I'm really at a point where I should be delivering my first impression verdict, but I just can't seem to formulate an opinion. I really have mixed feelings about this collection. On the one hand, the powder products are really nice for the majority of the products. On the other hand, I'm finding that I don't have use for all of them. I'm finding that some of them are just a little too specific and only for like a specific skin type. Also the spacing in the packaging / waste of space. Overall, I feel like this prep and set collection is a little too ambitious. I feel like all of these products could have come way later for JACLYN Cosmetics. I would have much preferred to have seen, oh, I don't know, an eyeshadow palette perhaps, or maybe some bullet lipsticks, or maybe some eyeliners, some brow products, I don't know. I feel like this is just way down the road for the complexion category. You feel me? Like, do you see what I'm saying? I want to appreciate these products, but I feel like I would appreciate them more if there was a JACLYN Cosmetics foundation and concealer that were formulated to work best with these powders, you know? But right now, I like the powders. They're nice quality, but I feel like I didn't need a palette. I think I got it. I think I would have just preferred to see some individual powders rather than a palette of different powders. It would be nice to perhaps have a category for the under eye brightening, perhaps a category for the color correcting, or maybe that could have been like a duo palette. But to have all of these powders in one, I don't know. I'm not sure if I should be reaching for it every day, but it doesn't seem like it's enough regular powder for every day, or if this should be like my to-go palette. But again, the packaging is just a little too big and too clunky for on the go. I'm a bit confused. I am confusion, and it's all there is to it. The powders themselves, like I said, are really silky. They are very smoothing. They do feel nice on the skin. They are very pigmented, almost feels like a powder foundation, which I probably wouldn't wear under my eye because it's just a little too heavy for that delicate skin, which is why it's crinkling. But then again, you have the loose under eye powder option. It just feels like there's a lot of options, but there's no predecessors before it to work with these products. Do you see what I'm saying? The translucent setting powder was just way too luminous and way too white casting, meaning that it casts a white spell all over my face. So it just wasn't my jam. It wasn't my thing. I typically don't reach for those kind of powders, but if you have different skin than me, perhaps if you already have really good skin like JACLYN Hill, maybe you will like that powder, but it's not my jam. I guess I'm gonna have to give the Hydrating Under Eye Primer a couple more tries. I don't really see the difference just yet. I feel like I really need to test it out further, so I don't have an opinion on that yet. Now, one thing that I do have an opinion for is the shade range of the powder palettes. I feel like this is just too light to be meant for deeper skin tones. Like this right here is actually a powder that I used for my complexion, so how could it be geared towards deeper complexions? That I don't get. So we're definitely missing some shades there. We're definitely missing some options, let's put it that way. You know what? I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt. This is my first impression, and I do feel like I need to conduct a wear test. I need to wear it a couple more times and really like figure out what is the best way to wear them all. What are they all intended for? I need a tutorial from JACLYN herself. I need to know more, basically. That is my story. Those are my 2 final cents. I am sticking to it, and now I am ready to zoom on out and wish you a farewell so you can click on my next couple of videos. I love you guys. I will see you in the next one. Peace.